I did think we needed to address the big thing that happened in wrestling at the beginning of this week. You touched on it. Raw on Netflix. Man, it felt like a major watershed moment for the professional wrestling industry and the company. There's been reports that there were 4.9 million people who watched the debut. Supposedly, at this point, there's more people who've watched that episode of Raw than Squid Games. It is the most watched thing in Netflix history. How much of this is real and how much of this is just hype, we're not sure. But what we know for sure is they had a lot of attention and they had a lot of stars. And man, was it a slick looking presentation. I love the camera angles and the production, and it was cool to see the new building. I know that show was really introducing WWE to a new audience rather than advancing storylines, but it felt big, man. There's not another way to say that. Like when WWE wants to make something feel special, is anybody better at that than them?
Not even close. There's not even a second. I mean, there's nobody close to WWE. And I mean, in all the world of entertainment. And I don't mean just in wrestling. I mean, in entertainment. That was one of the greatest shows I've ever seen. That thing was amazing from start to finish. The way they filmed it, the way the crowd looked, all of the different looks that they had for the ring and everything they did. It just looked like something you would see out of 1950s glory day of Hollywood. I mean, it just looked incredible what they did. And by the way, you're going to see now these advertisers, you know, we didn't know if Nielsen ratings were legit or not. These ratings are going to be legit down to the person. Now, the reporting of it may not be. I think these numbers were legit, but, you know, you can always, you know, they say the numbers don't lie, but numberers do. But you're going to see these numbers down to the single person. And you look at things like Google, where they're able to monetize advertising so much and become these multi-billion-dollar companies. You're going to have targeted advertising that you're going to sell at a massive premium because you're going to know exactly who this is going to, how much they're consuming, where they're from, what they buy. It's going to be an incredible seismic change in wrestling and in entertainment.
I can't wait to see what's next. It is going to be a major shift in WWE and all of professional wrestling, I believe. Right now that we see AEW and WWE on streaming, it seems like, you know, we're going to see more opportunity like that in the future. I saw someone speculate online, John. I wanted to get your take on this, that perhaps the most recent contract that AEW signed, their most recent television contract, that might actually be the last major traditional television contract that a wrestling company signs. It seems like streaming is going to be the new horizon, the new frontier. Do you think that major big time wrestling contracts for just television are over with? Does it need to be a combination moving forward of streaming and television, or what say you?
Not yet, because I think voids are always filled. And so you've got a huge void that's being left in the old traditional media right now with WWE going to Netflix, which, by the way, you talk about first about the Netflix deal. You know, we used to run tours overseas based upon what our TV contracts were. So when Germany had a great TV contract, we would run, you know, back in the day, we'd run 23 days in Germany when we filmed Raw once a month. Then we'd run Italy when it was TV contracts were good there, or France or the UK, wherever our TV contracts were good. That's where we would run. And those things changed every few years. So you'd run a few tours to Germany. You might not go back because the TV contract changed. That all doesn't matter now with Netflix because you now are in the entire world. And it takes away the fact that you had to run back in the day, you had to run pay-per-views in the United States because that was your biggest audience. And you didn't need it by time delay, do it in the UK or in Japan or Australia. But because spoilers would get out, it would hurt your pay-per-view sales in the United States. Well, now it's streaming. It doesn't matter. You can run pay-per-views or premium live events now anywhere in the world. You can run Raw anywhere in the world because now it's streaming. You get your revenue in a complete different way. This Netflix deal has literally opened up the entire globe for WWE. I think it's an incredible landmark deal. Now, as far as the legacy media, you're leaving a huge void here. I mean, something like TNA that's selling out everywhere. I mean, these guys will probably get a good TV deal because somebody wants wrestling that's not able to get it because WWE is going to streaming. And that's the 800-pound gorilla. There's a huge void left there. I think you're going to see a pretty good TV contract, and I hope you do, coming for someone like TNA.
Yeah, man, that'd be great. We're all pulling for TNA, pulling for pro wrestling. That's what's great about pro wrestling is it becomes almost like an extended family. It's really just this big community. and everyone is sort of connected to someone else, not just in the industry, but fans too. And unfortunately, we just lost a big member of our wrestling family and someone who is really, really important to you that maybe some of our younger listeners aren't all that familiar with. If you just grew up and are listening today because of Bruce's stories, or maybe you just love JBL on TV, long before there was a JBL character, there was a young man just trying to break in the business. And his writing partner and a guy he looked up to is no longer with us. I wanted to give you a few minutes to tell us about Black Bart, man.
Yeah, Black Bart is a guy that everybody needs in a dressing room. Bart was just Bart was everything. Bart was a great worker, and Bart could do anything as far as Bart could be in the first match and he could get over a guy that was just starting like me. They put him in a tag team with me. We were tag team champions in Texas, but Bart did so much more than that for me. Bart could be in the main event. Bart could carry the championship. Bart was the ultimate, carpenter, as we used to call him. He could do absolutely anything. He could carry the company with the title. He could also put over a young guy that needs the push. And in the dressing room, Bart was one of the most beloved guys there is. I mean, anybody who knows Black Bart will tell you the same stories. He'd sit there with his glasses down on his nose, and he'd have a big trash can in front of him. He'd sit there, and he'd push his glasses up like the Longhorn, like that, put it on like that, had a big chaw in his mouth, take his chaw out, put it in his dip can, go wrestle, get his chaw out, and put it back in his mouth. There was nothing like Black Bart. Bart and I were really good friends. I love Bart. He's been such a dear friend to me. But Bart, when I would come into the sportatorium, those walls were paper thin. There's wood paneling walls. And you could hear my cowbell going. And I'd always ring it when I'd come in. And Bart would sit there and that trash can, he'd look down and goes, I hate the sound of that cowbell because that long, tall drink of shit Johnny Hawk's with it. Bart loves me. And I'd come and sit right by him and just mess with him the whole time. We had so much fun. Him and Murdoch were like the biggest, like this. They were so fun. I'm riding with Murdoch and Bart one day, and Murdoch is pinching Bart, on the chest, pinching him.
Yeah.
Murdoch was a child, and Murdoch was awesome, but he was a child like the rest of us. So he's pinching Bart, and he's pinching Bart, on his breast. And so Bart goes, Dickie, I'm going to tell you. You better stop that. And Dickie goes, what are you going to do, you fat bastard? And Bart says, Dickie, and he pushes up his glass. He goes, I love you. Pull the car over. Hey, we're going to find a patch of green grass, and I'm going to teach you a lesson in respect. And he goes, but afterwards, Dickie, we're going to shake hands just like men. And so Dick says, you want to fight me? And Bart goes, I just told you, Dickie, find a patch of green grass. We're going to fight. Now, we're going to shake hands afterwards, but we're going to fight. I'm tired of you messing with me. And so I'm in the back seat. These are two legends. I don't know what to do. Do I break them up? Right. These guys are about to fight on the side of the road. And I'm like, oh, my God, what in the world do I do? So finally we pull over. Bart gets out. Dickie shuts the door and drives off and leaves him. And I'm just sitting there in the back seat. I'm looking like, you just left Black Bart on the side of the road. I'm sorry, aren't you going to go back? My God. Oh, yeah, they were like children. They were the funniest two people.